pretty evident that the moment you say you want a traditional relationship, you want to enter in more of an arrangement of traditional gender roles. Such a big difference between abuse that is painted as masculinity and femininity. It's easy to be a girly, feminine woman and carefree when you have the perfect conditions. About the difference between a man who loves women and a man who loves what women can do for him. If you've been hurt in the past, telling yourself like all men are bad, or I will never trust again, or I'm done being soft, I am only going to be in transactional relationships, like those are big problems. Today we're going to talk about the ultimate guide on how to find a traditional provider masculine husband. As many of you know who haven't subscribed to my channel for a long time, I have tried to tackle this topic before. I wouldn't say that I failed, but I don't feel as confident as I do now, coming up on 9 years being married to the love of my life, my husband, in a positive, life-giving, traditional masculine-feminine relationship where both of us thrive. And I feel finally confident enough to give to all of you the tips that I have learned on how you can also find a traditional masculine provider husband in, again, a life-giving, positive, nurturing relationship. There are so many tips out there on how to find masculine men, how to be provided for, and I honestly find that a lot of it is manipulation. There are so many confusing ideas about what positive masculinity is, and there are so many critics who look down on the traditional masculine-feminine relationship and characterize it as something that it is not. A traditional masculine-feminine relationship is truly a beautiful thing. My husband has held me in my darkest seasons. He has been my biggest support. He has let me thrive in who I truly am because I know that he is the backbone, the stability in our relationship, and he has always supported my goals and my dreams. This YouTube channel wouldn't even be possible without him, and I wouldn't be the woman that I am without this nurturing relationship. A masculine husband shows up. He leads. He is, again, that rock. He is that stability. He honors and appreciates your femininity in the relationship. And he respects and honors what a woman, quote unquote, brings to the table. He's the one who's going to hold your hand on your deathbed. He is the one who is going to support you while you get that epidural in your back and you're about to give labor. He is the one who is going to see you through the deaths of your parents or whatever other tragedy, through life changes, through moving, through friendship that are going to come and go in your life. And it makes me so sad that there's so much negativity around there surrounding traditional femininity and traditional masculinity that is really leading women astray, and it's going to prevent them from being in the position to live out this beautiful thing. Before I get into the video, as always, there's a little bit of a disclaimer. I have 2 little toddlers. I try to keep them occupied when I film my videos, but you may hear them here and there in the background. And I also want to shout out my members. If you enjoy the work that I do on this channel, becoming a member truly does help keep the channel going, and I also post content over there as well. But regardless, your likes and your comments do help my videos reach the right audience through the YouTube algorithm. Now let's start off by talking about what a masculine provider man truly is. Too many people hear the word provider and they just think money. They just think, like lavish lifestyles, wealthy men, and your masculine man could end up being a wealthy man, but wealth doesn't have to do with the provider mentality. Providing financially, yes, a masculine provider man is going to feel the responsibility to provide for his children, to provide shelter, food, those kinds of things. That's like the bare necessities. But it goes deeper than that. It's also about providing emotionally. How do you feel around this man? Does he poke fun at your femininity? Does he allow you to feel all your emotions? Does he criticize you for being too sensitive? Is he receptive to your concerns and he doesn't brush them off? Does he have a deep faith conviction, whatever that might mean for him, like religion or just like spirituality? Does he have a core set of moral beliefs? And I did mention in one of my previous videos that as women, we do tend to like brush off red flags, but men are pretty direct. And what you have to do is try to get out of the mindset when you're like vetting a man of totally giving him the benefit of the doubt. You have to actually listen to what he says, because he will tell you his core values and he will tell you who he is if you just listen. And does he provide you protection, even in the dating phase? Like I mentioned in my princess treatment video, like walking on the side of the road that's closest to cars, like texting you back, making sure that you got home safely. Like all those little things are ways that he has a protection mentality. And we can do an entire video on concrete examples of masculinity. So don't forget to hit the like button or leave me a comment down below to let me know if that's something that interests you. But I also want to talk about why the world mocks traditional love. And of course, there's like the trope of that you will be abused. And we have talked about this at length in other videos. But it's pretty evident that the moment you say you want a traditional relationship, you want to enter in more of an arrangement of traditional gender roles, you get pushback. You know, of course, get told that you're going to get abused, told you're brainwashed. You might be told that you're lazy. You might be told that you're a gold digger. And we are going to talk about that in the upcoming weeks in what I like to call the wounded feminine. But a lot of this advice is operating from the wounded feminine. And again, I'm going to make a video about helping you deconstruct your wounded feminine. The truth is that a lot of society has never seen what a truly healthy traditional marriage looks like. And that's a big reason why I created my channel and I started making content in this niche, because I wanted women to see how beautiful it is and how you can thrive when you tune out the noise of what society says is the ideal way to have a marriage. The truth is that masculinity and femininity is harmony. It's a continuous dance of harmony. So just remember that your desire for a traditional relationship and to step more into your femininity is not wrong. It's a calling for you to feel whole and authentically who you are and deprogram what the world has told you is a woman. The right man will celebrate your femininity. It's not those types of relationships that critics mock about, like the woman who is drained by a man. You're like, this is abuse. A masculine man will nurture your girliness, for example. He will want you to have hobbies. He will love hearing about your interests because he loves you. Maybe not necessarily that like he actually loves like the girly things that you are interested in your wardrobe and your pink stuff, for example. But again, it goes back to that concept of opening your ears, especially in the dating process, and your eyes to what he does to help you nurture your femininity. When I was in a sorority, we always saw the most supportive men help create like a bulletin board for their girlfriend that was the philanthropy chair. And obviously he didn't care about the sorority. He didn't care necessarily about the philanthropy, but he cared about his girlfriend and her passion for the charity project. With this YouTube channel, like there was a time where I just kind of let it totally fall off and I was feeling a little bit depressed about it. And although like my husband is super busy in his own life and he can't necessarily, you know, like for example, watch the kids while I'm filming a video, he highly encourages me to get in that time, like to give the kids a snack, to just like let me know that it's okay, they can watch a little bit of TV when I do this, to help me charge my computer equipment day before I film a video. Like those kinds of little actions, even though they are small, like make up the foundation of a man who truly cares about you pouring into your life and your interests. Even up to the big things, although in my marriage we have like traditional roles in which like I do 98% of the childcare, society would say that my husband's oppressing me into this role and forcing me to take on that burden. But in a traditional relationship, you have your roles, but it doesn't mean that you can't cross over in times where each other needs a little bit more support. It doesn't mean that my husband doesn't like watch the kids so I can go take a shower. Like he'll do little things like randomly fill up my Starbucks card when he can, because he knows those things help me take a break. And likewise, a lot of wives will be insulted for like waiting on hand and foot their husband, which I have received that insult as well. But the matter of fact is that a traditional masculine man, like he bears so much weight on his shoulders of providing for the family, trying to nurture your femininity, that it's not seen as like this transactional relationship. Like I want to nurture him. I want to do things for him because I love him, because I also cherish his masculinity. I want to see him happy. I want to quote unquote serve him. But that also doesn't mean that there aren't days where like the kids are driving me crazy and he understands that putting in a frozen pizza and veering off of the meal plan is totally normal. Like it's not this oppressive thing where he's yelling at me for not sticking to the meal plan. I went a little bit off on a tangent with these examples, but it just comes back to the concept of really understanding what healthy masculinity and femininity is. And that's what I'm trying to portray here on this channel and what we are trying to communicate to the world in this community. There's such a big difference between abuse that is painted as masculinity and femininity when both of those people might be in their toxic masculinity or femininity state, and healthy, harmonious, life-giving femininity where both people feel fulfilled in their roles, but not like rigid. Like I mentioned, what happened to the Tradwife movement video I will link above, like not these rigid rule books. It is about flow and nurturing each other. So let's talk about how you attract a masculine man, because again, a lot of the things I talk about on this channel are more so abstract concepts, and I talked about the harmony and the flow, but a big component of attracting a traditional masculine man is ensuring that you are in your true authentic feminine state, not your performative transactional feminine state. And it's a shame because a lot of the advice out there goes back to what I talked about at the beginning of the video. It's very transactional. It's very hypergamy in the negative sense. It's very much about keeping score, and these relationships, they do fall apart. So let's just brush over gently what the feminine woman who is going to attract an authentic masculine man is living in. The state in which a true feminine woman is going to attract a healthy masculine man. And number one is that she is relaxed. She, of course, has goals for her life, but she is not living the pace that the rest of the world lives, even down to your daily actions. Like, how are you walking? How are you getting in and out of your car? How are you interacting with other people? How are you, taking the time to interact or reply to messages? It's better to have a small circle of people and less obligations, but do them right. That is the feminine way to act, than to rush through your life. A masculine man will be attracted to this magnetic woman because the slowness is something that he will crave in his life if he is living in his masculine energy. And one aspect of not rushing is being confident in your femininity. When I was competing in pageants, what I had recognized at the international level is that you really had to start working on your personality, because long story short, like, they deliberately get you to stay there in whichever location for like a month or even over a month in order to see who you truly are, like put you to the test, bring you to a lot of appearances, go to rehearsals, like try to physically drain you so that they can see if the cattiness, the gossip, the complaining comes out. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't complain, like definitely in a situation like that, there were many reasons to complain, like the physical hurt of your feet, the lack of sleep. We had about 5 hours of sleep every single day. Like, those are not things that I encourage you to live a feminine life by doing. I encourage you to have full night's sleep, all that kind of stuff. But my point with this is realizing that it kind of peeled back all those layers to see if you were truly confident in your femininity, if you were going to snap. It's easy to be a girly feminine woman and carefree when you have the perfect conditions. But in this hyper, like capitalistic and materialistic world, there are so many pressures and life is imperfect. So that's why I always encourage you on this channel to practice inner poise, to really identify your triggers, work through your traumas, ask yourself how you view femininity, create even like beauty checklists that will sustain you through times and hard seasons. Like, put in those practices that help you be resilient to this world and truly feminine. There's another reason why a lot of the critics will say things like they will warn traditional feminine women of once they have kids, they won't necessarily feel the same about their viewpoints. And to a degree, I agree with them, because if you haven't done the inner work of femininity, when you do have kids and you are in those hard seasons, you will not have the foundational blocks to still remain in your femininity, and you will, quote unquote, lose yourself to a martyr extent. So go through my femininity playlist and really try to internalize the things that I say there, because I am speaking from experience, having gone through a lot of things in my life. I am so confident that if you do the inner feminine work, it's going to outpour to things such as your appearance, and it's going to help you be that authentic feminine woman that at the end of the day gets a ring, because you can't trick a truly masculine man. I will repeat it again. A lot of content out there is based on negative hypergamy. It is advice that is given through the wounded feminine. It is about getting materialistic things from men. The materialistic rewards that you might get in a marriage when a man succeeds, for example, are of course results of his masculine hard work. But if you're leading into finding a relationship and finding a man based solely on his checkbook, you are going to miss out on true masculinity. This is why I mentioned in my princess treatment video that any man of any income level can give you princess treatment. If you are in a life-giving feminine relationship, the man who buys you a Rolex versus like the man who goes to 7-Eleven and buys you your favorite pop unexpectedly, those will feel the exact same because you are in such a positive, healthy, feminine, masculine relationship that you and your husband deeply desire each other on an authentic level. So again, going back to what I mentioned at the beginning of the video, when you search for a masculine man, look for the core qualities of healthy masculinity and not just the outward appearance. Now let's talk about some red flags and mistakes of fake masculinity. I have privated the first video when I tried to make this series on the member side, but in that video I talked about the difference between a man who loves women and a man who loves what women can do for him. This is the difference between like the healthy masculinity community on the internet, for example, and like the negative stuff. And that's also a conversation in itself because I do not believe that that community was necessarily evil. You just have certain male content creators who are operating from their wounded masculinity. But like, this is why I wouldn't necessarily say that you need to look for a man who wants a traditional wife or like a stay-at-home or a housewife. That's why I've also recommended in the past when you're dating somebody to, instead of say like, I want to be a stay-at-home mom, talk about your values, how you think that it's important for a mother to be around more often raising their kids, or you feel happiest at home. And then that opens the conversation to get to know his values. And yes, he might want to stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home wife. That's not saying that he's operating from toxic masculinity, but you want to veer the conversations to talk about core values rather than transactional things, because life is imperfect. However, your core principles and what you view in marriage are going to stay strong despite the economy or like the little tweaks that you might make in your marriage based on like circumstances, what your kids need, all that kind of stuff. And I also mentioned at the beginning of the video, mocks femininity. Does he poke fun? This is a big topic now in a lot of feminist circles, but I don't think that they're necessarily wrong. The concept of negging, but it's important to understand that I think that the feminist perspective is sometimes wrong in that they think that anytime a man has something to criticize about a woman, it is negging and it is bad. A man who is not afraid to help you become a better person and point out where you may be flawed is not the same as somebody who is insulting your character. It's actually a positive thing if you are in a relationship with a man and he has healthy criticism to tell you in certain aspects, because that means that he's not just trying to sleep with you. He actually cares about your personality. The biggest difference, again, is he insulting your character? One of them causes confrontation and the other one opens the door for perhaps a healthy conversation. Men who are obsessed with competition, with winning, controlling women, of course, all that being said, like that is a man who's operating in unhealthy masculinity. A man who has strong goals but is not obsessed with like bringing other people down and projecting from a space of jealousy. Those are all warning signs and red flags you want to look out for. And emotional safety. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, does he respond to when you are crying about a situation? If you're dating a man, there definitely will be something that will come up that is a hard time, whether that is even something small like failing a test, and see how he responds. Not all men are going to necessarily respond with how women are, with like a soliloquy of kind words, but just being there and being your rock, maybe taking your mind off of it by like bringing you ice cream. It's not necessarily about the specific action of what he does. It's about, is there an action that he does? Moreover, a big green flag in masculinity is if he follows through on what he says he's going to do. And does he blame the outside world when things go wrong? Does he look internally on how he can improve, even in the context of your relationship? Does he admit when he was wrong? Or is he somebody that blames everybody else for his mistakes? Does he show up in the smallest things, like being on time for a date, to the big things? Supporting his family, supporting a sibling, supporting a friend. And I also don't necessarily think that there's one place to find a provider masculine man. A lot of times people will say like churches, men's organizations, and those are definitely valid places. But I think that you can find a masculine man anywhere. The reason why they are more visible in organizations like this. Like my husband, I met him through his fraternity, which, you know, like some people might gasp at that because there's like negative connotations associated with fraternities, but it's an organization where you can of course see if a man has leadership, if he has honor, if he actually is one of the good guys among the rest that might be not the most morally sound people, but like it gives you a comparison factor. However, the thing is, you can meet a masculine man anywhere if you are rooted in your feminine and you understand the red flags. And I know I'm saying again in this video, however, if you've been hurt in the past, telling yourself like all men are bad, or I will never trust again, or I'm done being soft, I am only going to be in transactional relationships, like those are big problems. They sound good on surface level, they sound empowering on surface level, but they are deeply wounded. The feminine has true satisfaction when she is open and emotionally present. Yes, it is vulnerable. You can and you probably will get hurt throughout your life. But what you will receive as the reward in your life experience is truly the way that life was meant to be lived as a woman. You can still be smart and not naive. There is a big misconception out there that those who want more traditional masculine-feminine relationships are naive. But in reality, we only hear the abusive stories, and those that are, again, truly life-giving were entered in with discernment. Remember what I said at the beginning of the video. Do not brush off red flags. Listen, because men will tell you who they truly are. And like I mentioned in one of my previous videos that I have privated for members, you can be firm in the concept that husbands deserve grace. When you are in a marriage, things happen, life happens, where you're working through the perhaps little things in your daily life, but boyfriends don't deserve the same grace, and this will save you so much pain from entering into a relationship with the wrong man. However, a way that you do it that isn't in the wounded feminine is you still give that man time. You don't feel as though if he doesn't give you a gift on the second date, like I have heard somebody on TikTok talk about, that's like a Cartier bracelet, on the second date, like that is very transactional, and that is not what we talk about on this channel. Getting to know somebody, not rushing into transactional and sexual contact, like waiting to get to know somebody, those are positive and fine things. That is going to help you with discernment. You're not trying to trick a man. You are not trying to get that bag. You are trying to live a life with somebody who is going to hold your hand at the end of your life, who is going to nurture you through the most difficult transitions of your life, who wants you to be happy, who wants you to thrive in your femininity, who doesn't want to control you. He wants you to be the most authentic version of yourself. And for many of us women, that is living in femininity. I'm going to end the video there. If you have a specific topic that you want me to elaborate on when it comes to men and overall finding traditional masculine provider men, leave it down below. I also appreciate so much my members and those of you who like the videos that you enjoy on this channel. I will see you next time, lovely feminine friends. Bye-bye.